Before we begin, can we double check that all of you at home have got your 3D glasses on? I mean, you don't need to, because this video is in 2D. But,
Ooh, I've got a dog on me. I don't know if you can see my phone.
They can't see any of it.
Oh, okay.
Nothing.
Well, sucks to be you.
The dog's in 3D. Welcome to Doctor Who Review! Married couple talk about Doctor Who. We've watched it since the very beginning. I'm Chris.
I'm not good.
And we are finally here. The 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, The Day of the Doctor. Series 7 plus, I guess, of the modern era. It's a special set after Series 7. Continuing the cliffhanger of Series 7. Continuing on from the two shorts we reviewed last time. Check out the previous video for more information. And, yeah. The first non-charity multi-Doctor story of the modern era of the show.
Indeed.
We're here. If you're watching this, chances are you've seen Day of the Doctor. If not, there's going to be spoilers ahead, so sort yourself out. Love.
There may be spoilers ahead. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
But before we begin, and while I finish this piece of cake that we started eating in the last video, do you want to tell everyone how and where we watched this? I don't mean now, because it was just yesterday on the Blu-ray in that box set on our telly. I meant
we were sat in the living room with our comfies on, drinking. Oh no, we weren't drinking wine,
Yep.
were we? Anyway,
you might have been.
I don't know. Maybe I am now. We were at the 50th anniversary convention, weren't we?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
We on the day Saturday the 23rd of November, 2013. I was working at CBBC at the time, and we did something that we never really did then ever, which was a live Saturday. And it was me and our lovely friend Katie Thistleton hosting a morning of Doctor Who related sort of programming, and we had we got like a genuine TARDIS and genuine Dalek prop in the CBBC office, and
I was just that in there.
Oh, we managed.
That's crazy.
And I dressed up in my McCoy pullover.
Oh, is that the blue? The picture is of you put.
Yeah, I had a blue jacket on, which was mine, and underneath it is the McCoy pullover.
It's very, very cute.
And Tom Baker's scarf was on the desk. And
go check it out if you see it.
Katie did I don't think it's available online, that one.
Oh, well.
And Katie did a really...
Sucks to be you.
Really fun, she had a recurring thing in her Links of the Time where she sang Big Banana, Small Banana, Big Banana, Small Banana, Big Banana, Small Banana, Plantain! And then would reveal a plantain. Which came from the fact that I think she just had one for lunch one day, and they decided to write it a plantain.
Why would you eat a plantain just like that?
Well, I don't know. They decided to write it into a link. That happened 4 or 5 times, so in our thing, one link began with Kate holding a Dalek toy and standing next to the main Dalek. And she was so proud of this, because she could have got this so wrong, because she's like complete Doctor Who novice. Kate didn't watch Star Wars until just before The Force Awakens came out in late 2015, because... her husband Alex was like, I'm going to go see the Star Wars film. Do you want to see it with me? Yeah, you should probably watch at least one other Star Wars movie first. So they watched the original trilogy. And she got really excited. And she was like, oh my god, I probably could have got half the references to the stuff you've been saying over the last 3 years if I'd watched these two. And I was like, yeah, maybe. Same with Doctor Who, because she sang Big Dalek, Small Dalek, Big Dalek, Small Dalek, Big Dalek, Small Dalek, da 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 da. And she just pulled out her first Doctor toy from her pocket and went, William Hartnell! and then she does that and she pissed herself laughing in this live link, and I just went, I think I'm proud. I think it was my response was like, I think I'm proud. I don't know.
What a weird time.
It was a very strange time. I finished that, got to our flat, you and I got a taxi, if I remember correctly, to Manchester Piccadilly.
We did.
We got a train down to London, lickety-split.
London.
Because the next day I was going to be hosting a games section of the Doctor Who Celebration, which was like the big official convention at the Excel Centre in London. And to make sure we got there on time, I'd sort of said to them like, hi, yeah, so you want me to travel down Saturday, I guess, after I've finished at CBBC. Problem with that is, it's likely we'll miss the 50th, and I kind of don't want to miss it. Like, I'd rather not watch it on my tablet in bed in the hotel at like 10 at night. I'd rather watch it when it goes out. So the lovely lady, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but the lovely lady who was like organising talent booking and everything for it, said, well, we've got you the hotel next to the XL, you've got a room and everything, we'll sort out the transport for you to make sure you can get there on time. Because at the XL, for people who bought, like, I think it was people who bought like the deluxe passes or whatever, like, you know, like the VIP pass or whatnot, they were attending the convention, and then they could stick around for an extra couple of sneaky panels and then watch the 50th go out at the same time as it was going out on TV on the screen.
There was a panel when we got there, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was a visual effects team doing a panel. And they knew they had to cut off at some point because, like, it was going to come up. Yeah. And so she said, we'll get you into that. And I was like, oh, that'd be so cool. So you and I got on the train, we got off, and we'd been told to look for, I think it was an Addison Lee that was going to pick us up. And it was a Mercedes.
Something like that, yeah.
It was like, what the hell? It was beautiful. It was the most VIP we've ever felt in our lives. And we got married at Universal Studios.
Yeah. It was it was tinted windows.
Yeah.
And people were looking in the car like to see
who's this?
And he was like, it's me, I work at a cinema.
It's just us two plonkers going to watch Doctor Who at a convention centre.
Oh, he's on telly. But I'm a nobody.
And like, it was one of those you got in, it was like bottled water and snacks in the back for you to just pick at your leisure.
Because we were like, oh, I don't know if we're allowed.
And the irony is, we probably could have got the tubes and got there about 40 minutes earlier. Because obviously we were sat in London traffic. But we felt like proper little snobby VIPs, didn't we? It was great.
And aircon and stuff. It was great. I mean, you didn't really need aircon because it was. Was it November?
Yes, November 23rd. We got the keys to our house 2 days prior. So this very house, and we. In fact, the day before, the 22nd.
It was the day before.
Where we are right now, this couch. We sat on the floor where this couch is now. Took a photo with us just sat in the living room on the floor on a phone, and basically said, next time we sit here there'll probably be a couch or something like that, put it on social media. And then the next day we buggered off to London for 2 days to do this doctoring thing.
Hey, we've got a new house, let's leave it.
So we checked into the hotel, and then we ran over, and the organiser lady, she was there, and she was like, hi, I'll come meet you, brilliant, I'll take you to the screening room, see you tomorrow. And I was like, great, no worries, bye. We watched The Other Doctor. So we're kind of biased. We have very fond memories of this special overall because of our experience watching it. It was incredible watching it with an audience because all the bits that are meant to be like crowd pleasing were absolutely crowd pleasing moments. But that is not uncommon for anyone who was a Doctor Who fan and saw this go out at the time, because chances are most of you watching either made a big deal out of sitting down to watch this on the telly that night or went to see it at the cinema.
Yeah.
Because it went out like at cinema screens at 7 p.m. that night, 2D or 3D.
Excuse me.
And you guys got to see something we didn't. Because when we watched it, there was just kind of like a countdown, counting down to the simulcast, and then it began. If you saw it in 2D, and we got to watch these as a lot part of our marathon in the anniversary box set, if you watched it in 2D, Strax prepped you for proper cinema etiquette in a specially shot, like, comedy short film that was brilliant.
It was very funny.
Popcorn could feel pain. Oh, the tiny screams. This is brilliant. That was so much fun. These are available online to watch, by the way, so go watch them or try and track down one of these and give it a watch.
Well, because we hadn't seen it, that's how we watched
like,
it.
I'd seen them at some point, but yeah, this was the first time for you, right?
Yeah.
And then the 3D intro is the one with the BBC bringing the Doctor in to give you a prompt on like how the 3D is going to work.
I've got to admit,
and whilst he's chatting to you, he changes from Matt Smith to David Tennant briefly, who warns you about the 3D and the 11th Doctor's chin probably being a problem.
It was cute.
Then they briefly have a chat together, and then flawlessly and ominously remind you what you're all here to see.
Mm-hmm.
When this other Doctor with his back turned to camera fades in the background, and they both suddenly get very serious, and you're like, oh, what a great little intro that is for the feature presentation. So well done. for the love of God, you did it in Rings of Akatem, you did it in this. If you're giving Matt Smith auto-cue prompt lines to read, put them next to the camera, not under it, for God's sake. It's so noticeable, isn't it, when you spot him? Like, it happens to everybody, but, like, just for the love of God, like, buy an auto-cue. You can afford one.
I know.
Anyway. Day of the Doctor. We're not going to explain the plot. You'll know it. I've watched this a bunch in the last 10 years. I've read the Target novel. I'll talk a little bit about that as well. What are your thoughts on Day of the Doctor? Hit me with the stuff you like about it.
It was emotional because at the time of watching it, David was my doctor. I mean, he still is my doctor, technically. So seeing him, I was just a bit like, oh my God, I miss you so much. Where have you been? So seeing that
Where's your proper hair gone? What is with this fringe in it? It's so weird.
No, it's weird. Looks like he's wearing a wig.
Which is weird, because he isn't.
But Matt is.
Matt is in the promo stuff. The 50th anniversary trailer, that beautiful, like, Where's Wally of Easter eggs and everything. The one that goes through Totter's Lane, which is also on here. We rewatched on the telly. It was like, God, it looks gorgeous, this trailer.
That's probably one of my favourite trailers ever.
Matt is blatantly wearing a wig at the end of that, because his head was all shaved by this point for the Ryan Gosling directed film he did. And he's wearing a wig in the next episode, which you've not watched since broadcast. That's going to be fun to revisit. But yeah, like, David's hair looks like a wig in this. But, so yeah, you were happy to see the 10th Doctor again?
Yeah. I loved going to, like, seeing Unit in London, in the Tower of London. That was really, really cool. And the fact that they've got a gallery that Elizabeth I had set up to keep pieces of art away from the eyes of the public that it'd be too, like...
Dangerous things.
Dangerous, yeah, I guess.
The Under Gallery.
Under Gallery, that's it.
Complete with a famous painting recreated with Cybermen for some reason.
Cybermen. Yeah, that was a bit on the silly side.
I don't mind it, because it makes you go, what's the story behind that? But, of course, we're not going to find out, because it's not the focus.
No. And Alistair's daughter, what's her name?
Kate Stewart.
Kate Stewart. Very cute.
Gemma Redgrave, Kate Stewart.
And I love the fact that the room that's got, like, relics in that is TARDIS-proof has pictures of, you know, all the companions that they've been, you know, looking up on everybody. And there's there's even Chameleon in there.
Yeah. Oh, in the Black Archive. Yeah. That was frightening. It was like, oh God, yeah, Chameleon. That's a thing.
Special guest. Oh my God, just knocking everybody over. Jesus. What else? The addition of the...
Well, John Hurt for starters.
Well, no, the first... Is it the first bit? With the... Oh God, the aliens. What are they called? I want to say
what are you talking about?
The orange soccer things.
Zygons.
Sorry. That storyline was really funny at the time, because obviously you've got two Queen Elizabeths played by the lady that is Stacey and Gavin and Stacey.
Yeah, not Gavin.
Not Gavin.
Not Gavin.
I'm trying to find her name. It is Joanna Page. Joanna Page,
who's clearly having fun. She brings the camp to this in a way that absolutely suits it.
That was just really funny. And the Zygons, and it makes me laugh that... sorry, there's chaos going on.
Yeah, the pets are running around causing absolute scenes right now. They've decided to pick this video to do this. This is ridiculous.
I think it's kind of funny, but also kind of annoying that Zygon story is not...
resolved.
You don't go back to it.
It's not resolved here, which is a weakness of this story.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those Moffat things of, oh, that was fun. And then you think about it and go, wait a minute. That definitely happens with the Zygon story.
Yeah.
And it's pretty clear they're only here just because David Tennant was like, can the Zygons be in it? They were my favourite monster as a kid.
I will only be in it if the Zygons are in it.
Yeah.
So that was funny. And then you get to John Hurt, who is just
Talk about
a gem.
instantly, yeah. Like, you just hear the casting and go, sure, okay.
Yeah.
Like, not many actors could pull that off, where you just go, they're a doctor as well, and you go, okay, fair enough. But John Hurt is in that. You know, it's like John Hurt, Maggie Smith, like Emma Thompson.
Yeah, you just automatically.
Hugh Laurie, Chiwetel Ejiofor. Like, there's just, you'd say some actors and you'd go, yeah. I immediately buy that they're a doctor.
I mean, I don't care what it is. I'll watch it because you're in it, and I love you.
Richard E. Grant. You know, there's just certain actors you go.
Well, Richard E. Grant. Sorry, yeah. Not who am I thinking of?
Who were you thinking of?
The one from oh God, man!
The dog is eating my wife's face.
Notting Hill. What's his name?
Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant. Sorry, that's the one.
How dare you? His stint as the Doctor was great. For that 2 minutes, he was the Doctor.
Man! God damn it! You picking balls.
Look after the universe for me. I've put a lot of work into it. He says.
Jesus.
John Hurt's great.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
Another big flaw of this is when you think for just a moment. So the Doctor is ashamed to even acknowledge this incarnation.
Yeah. They don't like.
And ultimately it's because of the action he takes at the end of it. He feels shame for the fact that in one of his incarnations, the Doctor pulled a double genocide trigger on a bomb that wiped out 2 species.
Yeah.
Even if it was for the greater good.
Greater good. Fascism.
Wonderful. However, he's incredibly polite.
Yeah.
He's just he's a sweet old man, basically.
But he's also got sass.
Like, the only act of violence we see him commit is he flies the TARDIS through a wall to flatten a couple of Daleks. Like, the soldier, who we saw in The Last Day, played by Chris Finch, when that Dalek's like, you know, I explain or whatever, and then the soldier shoots it dead. If they'd just given even just that little moment to John Hurt, you'd be selling more that he's become cold.
Yeah. He's become that warrior.
He's become ruthless, yeah. Like, just give that moment to him. Do you know what I mean? But they don't. And it's been exacerbated in recent years by the fact that most spin-off material featuring the War Doctor, which of course some comics, a couple novels, mostly Big Finish audios, John Hurt when he was alive, and trying to remember the actor's name. Oh, he seems like a nice fella. I'll figure it out in a minute. But you've got let's have a look. I'm gonna look up his name because I want to give him a shout.
Minnie.
Jonathan Carley, that's it. Jonathan Carley has been playing him since 2020 in stories about the younger incarnations, the post-Night of the Doctor incarnation of the War Doctor. A lot of the spin-off media has unfortunately depicted him as basically just being the Doctor, but hating people calling him the Doctor. And it's like, right. So when's he going to do something ruthless? No. Do you know what I mean? It's very odd, and it retroactively makes it so that this idea introduced at the end of the last episode, Name of the Doctor, is actually quite simple. He did something like major and seemingly unforgivable because it was the only choice, and as a result, himself in the future thinks he's like what I'm saying is, it's like, was it the only bad unquote thing he did, that action? Because if so, he's not been a warrior, he's not been a fighter. He may as well have just been like any other Doctor. It could have been Paul McGann, it could have been Christopher Eccleston. Like, it doesn't add anything, it being a new incarnation, other than the meta thing of we get to see a great British actor, an icon of film, play the part for a one-off. That's all. That's the only thing it really brings to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good excuse. We from what we've been able to glean over time, is that Chris Eccleston was written into a draft of this and very likely spoken to. He's mentioned that Stephen Moffat and him chatted about the 50th. So the implication, I think, would have been the Ninth Doctor would have been the Doctor to fight in the Time War.
Yeah.
Which I don't like. Because him in Rose, it seems like he's not stopped to even look at himself yet.
Yeah, so... Yeah.
Like, he has run from it. You look at him, he's off having adventures, like, hello, and all that stuff, waving plastic arms around and all this stuff, yeah? Like, that's who he is. And like he's like, where he looks at himself in the thing and he goes, shame, look at the ears and everything. Like, he's not stopped to even look at his own face yet, and we know from the stuff Rose sees in Clive's, like, collection, that this Doctor has had multiple adventures already on his own. So, the implication I always got was, he did the thing that killed everyone. He survived, regenerated, and has had to live with the guilt.
Yeah.
So he's just not stopped. He's been like, look at me going on adventures. Oh, I'm watching the assassination of JFK for fun.
Survivor's guilt.
I'm saving one family from the Titanic. Just all that stuff. Exactly, survivor's guilt. And it leans into his storyline a lot.
What?
One of the stories, there's a family that this guy befriended. Remember the sketch of him, like, and they're all stood like on an island or whatever. He befriended this family and like.
With the heart of the ocean, he was naked with his tits out.
No. Oh. Anyway, I still don't know how I feel about the resolution of this story in relation to the Ninth Doctor. Because for me, the Ninth Doctor's arc is perfectly told in that one series, the 2005 series.
Yeah.
His survivor's guilt and his grief and his horror at his own action is what fuels, motivates, and drags him down. And my survivor's guilt is dragging me down. And and Rose helps him sort of reconnect with who he is. Like, Series 1 ends with him about to do the same thing to Earth, the Delta Wave. And remember, he's there and he's going to do it, and the Emperor Dalek's talking over the comms and stuff, and he's like, what are you, coward or killer? And he takes that moment, and he lets go of the detonator, and he goes, coward any day. Because he can't do it. He can't do it again. To learn that it's very likely he never did it. If the events of this story were something that always happened, because of course part of the story is that once they resolve it at the end, they find a way around killing everybody. They make a whole point of John Hurt, the War Doctor, being like, I'm not going to remember this, am I? And they're like, no, the timeline's all thingy. Which they don't go into here, it's just alluded at, which I don't mind. But obviously the Three Doctors really hammers home the idea of when they're all together, the one who's already technically lived through it doesn't remember it until it's happening.
Yeah.
The one who hasn't lived through it yet has no idea and will retain no memory of it, so when they are the one later, they won't know what happened. And it's a way to keep time in check.
Right.
It's not them all meeting up and knowing exactly what's going to happen because they were the younger one who was there before. Because that could jeopardise how it's meant to go. Do you know what I mean? So it's basically like they're all the same person, but when they meet up with each other, they both kind of leave it with a bit of an amnesia.
Yeah. It's a bit hazy.
Yeah, which I like. That they kind of recognise one another, like the way the second Doctor interacts with the third, and the Five Doctors implies that he still kind of is like, oh, it's you, and vice versa.
Yeah.
The only time that rule's ever been broken, because obviously like the Two Doctors is like, but you weren't an androgam, you aren't an androgam now, and it's like, no, but this has happened to him now, so it's going to start happening to me eventually.
Yeah.
Like this, so there's still an idea of threat. Time can be changed, and the best way to stop it being changed and messed around with is if they all retain kind of an amnesia of the event after it, unless they're the one at the very end who has now gone through it all again completely and can remember what happened after the fact. So like the 11th Doctor, theoretically, is the only one of these three Doctors that will remember the events of this story. Because 10 has to forget.
Yeah.
And the War Doctor has to forget. implying that the way they resolve it might be the way it always was, and they just don't remember it.
Not
Meaning
no
that the
idea.
Ninth Doctor, no, but meaning that the Ninth Doctor's guilt, survivor's guilt, is for nothing. It's literally for now, which kind of lessens his arc retroactively. It makes his entire arc less solid.
Well, not really, because
he thinks he's done
he
something
believes
horrible.
he's done something horrible.
Yeah, but like he hasn't, and that sort of takes away from it somewhat.
No, I don't think.
But it also does kind of explain how the Daleks have survived. Because I'm sorry, there's no way all of them destroyed the others in the crossfire when Gallifrey disappears, which is how it's explained in this. Not a thing.
No.
Not a thing.
I think
it would wipe out a lot of them, sure, but not all of them.
I don't think it does lessen his arc, because he's traumatized and he's haunted by this event, and it makes him angry.
Yeah, but it's almost like going.
Rose is there to.
Oh no, it doesn't cheapen that. But I mean, he didn't kill everybody.
I know, but he thinks he did. Because at one point,
but then
in one universe, he did.
But then the implication could also be, that that the events that we thought they were did happen, and this changes them.
Yeah.
But how can that happen if the reason they all meet is because of the moment? The moment, the Gallifreyan weapon that was devised in the old times is basically like a, what do they call it? The Galaxy Eater. Like the idea is that it wipes out civilizations to start again if there is a mistake. And that's why it's never been used, because apparently, and I love that idea that General sets up, it developed a conscience, and someone said, why has it never been used in conflict before? And he says, could you pull the trigger and murder like billions using a weapon that will judge you for using it?
Yeah.
And it's like, Moffat, that's good. That's very good.
That's dark, that.
And the moment even reaches into the Doctor's like kind of time stream to create a face that he can understand and relate to. But the moment doesn't have a grasp of how personal time works. Because the moment, as played by Billie Piper returning to Doctor Who, but not as Rose Tyler, which was so clever. Because the marketing was like, David Tennant and Billie Piper are coming back for the 50th anniversary. And then near the time it was like, Billie Piper playing a character called The Moment. Everyone was like, wait, what?
And
then
like
the fact
that.
they share the camera, they share the same shot, her and David, multiple times, and never interact because he can't see her. Only John Hurt can see her. I love that. I love that she's like, this is a face from your past, or is it your future? I always get those two mixed up. But it's also the fact that it's not Rose. It's Rose from that very brief period where she was the bad wolf at the end of Series 1. So linking it back to Series 1's conclusion again.
I like that it's, just like her visage. It's not Rose, because I think
she plays it differently.
If it had been Rose, you might have got, I keep saying this word, you might have got a bit of fatigue with these characters.
I don't know. I think it would have been, there was a big enough gap. I think it would have been a nice surprise. But it would have been a bit weird because it's like, wait, so Rose, who we lost forever, has come back twice.
Twice, exactly, that's what I mean.
Now, obviously, if it had been Rose and the 10th Doctor set during their time together, that wouldn't be as big of an issue.
Sense.
But you would have looked at them and gone, yeah, they look older than they did when they were together. But we forgave that for Jamie and the second Doctor and the two Doctors, so I don't know.
That's because they're adorable.
But what I'm saying is the moment makes the decision to interfere, right? And talk about the men he's going to become having done this act.
Yeah.
Which implies that this always happened then. So they remember that this Doctor is the one who pulled the trigger and killed everybody, but then at the end they join him because they're like, you don't have to be alone, and they're going to do it with him to support him, knowing it's the worst thing that any of them will ever do, but like they don't want to leave him to do it alone because they've now met him and kind of realised, okay, I wasn't a monster. I was, as they said, you were the Doctor. You were the Doctor more than any of us. You were the Doctor on the day that it was impossible to make the right choice. Which is again, great idea. But then it's like, so surely if this always happened, you'd remember that you were together for this? But then, of course, you wouldn't, because it was a multi-Doctor moment. But then, wouldn't you be confused that you don't remember pulling the trigger? Like, it's... it's one of those where the moment
explained away by it being traumatic and you don't want to remember it.
I think this is canon.
Yeah,
I think what happened here always happened. But then you think about that and you go, but the Ninth Doctor's involved in the bit at the end where they're all like saving people and setting up the. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, but if he's there, then that even if his memory resets after they've all helped out, it would break his world to learn that no, actually, you saved Gallifrey. You didn't kill everybody, even though that's the survivor's guilt, Doctor. Do you see what I mean? It's like there's no way for it to not kind of unravel the more you think about it. But
doesn't he recall seeing Gallifrey in flames?
Yeah, but I think it was just the war. I think it was just like the effects of the war.
That's right.
But what I'm saying is, like, the moment you start to think more about the moment and how the story is resolved here, the more it kind of there's always a but hang on. No matter how you think about it, there's always a but hang on.
It boggles the brain,
and it makes you wonder. Is it worth going back to the Time War to tell a story? When the Time War was used as a narrative device to simplify the show for a modern reboot. It was used as a device to narrow it down so that there's a bloke whose face can change and he travels in a blue box through time and space. And that's the show. Do you know what I mean? That's why it was done. And it was used to give him kind of an arc in that first series. And then dipped into a little bit, like with Tennant's last story and everything, but then Smith moves on quite quickly. Beast Below, I think, is the last kind of him dealing with it. Like, he talks to Amy about it briefly. And that's it. He was very, very old and very, very kind and the last of his kind and all this stuff. Like, that's in Beast Below. It's alluded to, Doctor's wife, fear me, I've killed hundreds of Time Lords, fear me, I've killed them all. Like, it's been alluded to. Mm. I think you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you go back to the Time War, you're going to kind of compromise something about this big mythical concept of the whole thing. But if you don't go back for the 50th anniversary, when would you ever do it? Like, it's got to be a blockbuster adventure to do it justice.
Yeah.
And I think this kind of does. Like, it's not, we don't go back to the Time War, we go back to the last day. And that means you don't ruin the mystery and the operatic stuff that's been set up in your mind as a viewer from all the things you've heard about it. Because you're not seeing the Medusa cascade and, you're not seeing the Nightmare Child, like the Dalek Crucible flying into the jaws of the Nightmare Child. Like, you're not seeing any of these things. You're just seeing the ground floor, which is what's important. People, Shobogans, Gallifreyans, like, dying as the Daleks invade the Citadel. Shobogan, it's the name of, like, Gallifreyan people. Like, they're usually the ones who live in the huts on the outskirts. Yeah, it's referenced in, like, I think Deadly Assassin or the Ark of Infinity, like one of those stories. It's a reference used to describe the ones who are living outside of the Citadel, the Shobogans. Shobogans.
No, that's a Family Guy joke.
Time Lord agrees how to get Shobogans. Because they're not all called Time Lords, they're Gallifreyans. The Time Lords are the ones who've gone through the Academy.
Yeah.
And that is kind of the point that Moffat's making here, is, the whole recurring thing of how many, have you counted them, how many children died that day when you pulled the trigger? And the fact that the 10th Doctor, like, the 11th Doctor is like, I'm old, maybe I've forgotten, maybe I need to move on, I can't look back or whatever, and the 10th Doctor immediately says the number and is appalled at how his 11th self...
Like, they got on so well, and then...
Well, yeah, they have a bit of the usual, they're a bit taking the piss out of each other, but then, like, they work together really well.
And then that happens, and 10th Doctor's just like, the fuck?
Which again, lends to something that's kind of stupid, because then all of that is to basically be like, I'd like to, like, if this is how we are now, I'd really like to know, like, how we end. I really want to know where it is we're going. And the 11th Doctor's like, no, you don't. And then when he tells him at the end it's Trenzalore, and the 10th Doctor is obviously aware he'll have heard Trenzalore is where he's buried, because that's the whole thing. The brilliant moment on the couch at Clara's Charge's house in Name of the Doctor, that amazing moment where he's just sat there taking in what she's told him, and you can see he's broken. because he's terrified, because he knows he is buried on Trenzalore, and that the whole thought of going there is the most frightening thing ever. It had been prophesied, like Trenzalore, the fields of Trenzalore, the fall of the 11th, the oldest question will asked, the oldest question will be asked, and all that stuff. But he's lived through that. He's lived through it. Presumably, Trenzalore isn't even where he's buried anymore, because it gets resolved. He gets saved, right?
Maybe it was just because he didn't have a nice time.
True, but here they are. Him and Clara, since we last saw them in his memory, and the tease of John Hurt, have obviously had several adventures. She's got a new job at Coal Hill School. Cute shout out. This is before it gets obnoxious. Just her, she's a teacher now. They acknowledge it. How's the new job going? Oh, do you know, it's fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's Coal Hill School. Cute. Oh, the opening shot is almost identical to the opening shots of An Unearthly Child. Cute. This is great. Oh, look. Ian Chesterton is apparently the head of the board, chairman of the board for the school. His name's on the sign outside. The other name is Anthony Coburn, the guy who wrote An Unearthly Child. That's a cute little Easter egg.
That's very cute.
That's very nice. I really hope they don't overdo Coal Hill School and bludgeon it into the ground, beating it to death over the next few years in this show and a spin-off. Making it weirdly one of the most important places in the universe, even though it isn't. It's just the school where the characters first met in the first story.
When I first saw this, that had no real.
Yeah, you were just she's a teacher now.
Oh, no. I was Chesterton. Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah.
And you were oh my gosh, yeah, that's such a cute little shout out. And I was yeah, okay.
And now you're
and I'm
London 1965!
Oh my god, I miss you so much.
So this is the third time we've been to Coal Hill then, in the show? Unearthly Child, Remembrance of the Daleks.
Yeah.
And then this one. Yeah, there you go. And they'll get rid of that novelty very soon. Actually, I was going to say they don't go to Coal Hill, do they, in Attack of the Cybermen, the Sixth Doctor one, but they land in Totter's Lane because it's in that area, in the junkyard, even though it doesn't have the same doors. When the TARDIS arrives and it's an organ and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You're getting nostalgic for that era now, aren't you?
Can't talk about
it. The shout-outs and Easter eggs are nice, like the board that shows all the people of interest who visited the Black Archive, but they've all had their memory erased when they leave. Implication being maybe even the Brigadier herself has had her memory erased every time she's left for security's sake. The really bleak concept that the security guy's been working there for 10 years and thinks it's his first day every day.
So is it just their memories wiped of that
their
area?
Their visit to keep it secret.
Or of their whole life?
No, of going to the Black Archive, visiting the Black Archive. Because it has to be kept secret.
What if he's got a wife and he goes home and
exactly.
my first day was great, and she's what the fuck are you on about? That's
my point. I can't remember exactly, but he gets murdered by the Zygons that arrive in the novelization, Target novel.
Oh, no.
And it really sets up the idea that this guy is basically his brain is being eroded by this. So it's this is horrid. But it's already a grim concept the moment you think about it.
Musical accompaniment by Minnie Johnson.
Tower of London, the Ravens, little mention to Malcolm, so Lee Evans gets a shout out.
I felt that the Ravens are little robots.
Little robots.
They're looking sluggish.
Osgood, love the introduction. Ingrid Oliver plays her beautifully in this. It's just a fun little. Oh, it's the 50th. It's UNIT in the present day. Let's have someone who works for UNIT who has grown up being a fangirl of their old scientific advisor, who was an alien, and everyone's wow, that sounds like who is this guy? He was here for what? He was here in the 70s or 80s. Love that shout, 70s or 80s, based on the filing. So yeah. the UNIT discrepancy is now acknowledged in the show. I think it gets acknowledged in Flux as well, but we'll get to that. So that's quite cute. And it's great, because it's so this is a story that is ultimately a big blockbuster adventure the whole family can watch, but if you're a Doctor Who fan, it's obviously a big bonus, because you're getting lots of lovely stuff.
Yeah.
One of the characters is a fan of the Doctor. Osgood has obviously, read up all of his files and everything. It's that's really cute. And the fact she's got clearly a knitted? It'd be knitted, wouldn't it?
It was knitted,
yeah. A knitted scarf like the Fourth Doctor's. but it's obviously not one of his. It's been made for, like, she's had it made or she's made it herself. That's adorable. Like, it works. And I think Osgood is a great character here. And I've always enjoyed Osgood in the bonus stuff since. Like, she's an excellent character in the video game The Lonely Assassins, for example. She's utilised brilliantly in that. Osgood, Kate Stewart, and Modern Unit get pulled through the mud a lot after this. So I really enjoyed spending time with them in this story, because it was like, yeah, they are used perfectly in this. This is great. Easter eggs in the Black Archive don't make very much sense when you think about it. Why is there a Supreme Dalek from 2008 just there in a case? That's weird.
They're all just kind of there.
How'd they get a Clockwork Droid mask? That was on a spaceship in the far future.
Oh god, yeah, in the future.
Yeah. How have they got River Song's heels? Why are they here? That doesn't make any sense.
But also, why are they just on a shelf? They're not catalogued, they're not put away, they're not... It's dead random. Like,
they've got a time vortex manipulator.
Isn't it a Sontaran gun? Like a...
There's a Cyberman gun.
Cyberman, sorry.
Well, that makes sense, because, like, in the invasion, Battle of Canary Wharf
yeah, but it's just on the
2007.
shelf. It's not, like, in a case or...
Yeah.
Lots of...
A time vortex manipulator bequeathed to the Black Archive on the event of Captain Jack Harkness's death. Well, one of them, she says. So it's like, wait, so since Miracle Day, he's died in a way that has led to someone getting hold of his vortex manipulator to take to the Black Archive. What? Like, wait, what? Now, to be fair, we've never had any stories set after Miracle Day, so we'd never know. So, whatever, fine. At this point, he's got it again when he returns in 2019.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, 2020.
Hadn't they run out of juice?
What?
Hadn't it run out of juice?
I can't remember. I think the Doctor, like, suspends it. I can't remember. I can't believe I remember. So, but I like the idea of the Black Archive, and it's a really fun bonus hidden level in the LEGO Dimensions Doctor Who pack as well, if you can find it, folks. I highly recommend it. Smith's great. It's not really his story. It's definitely a three-hander. But again,
I kind of like that.
It's Matt. He's great. He's very charismatic. Jenna Coleman is great in this. Clara's function in the story is absolutely spot on where it needs to be. She is the human connection and emotional weight behind the story, because she's witnessing this sort of extended therapy session going on, but at the same time sees the good in all of them, because that's all she's ever known of the Doctor.
Yeah.
And that really takes the War Doctor back, because he's not expecting to be talked to like this. I love the same software, different casing idea.
Yeah.
Expertly played for laughs, obviously, at first with the sonic screwdriver, but then, you've put this in here because it's going to be integral to the plot later, with them beginning to figure out the calculations to reduce Gallifrey into a pocket universe, being something that would take thousands of years to do. And then the reveal that, all the Doctors are involved, so they've probably one of them has gone back to tell the first Doctor to start now. And then obviously as it's gone on,
why wouldn't they have just gone to Tom and gone, just kill him. Just kill him when you've got the chance in that lab.
Oh, the Daleks, yeah. Do I have that right?
Clara just turns up yeah.
Yeah, do it, Doctor.
I've got a match.
Daleks are used well. They're not obviously the main feature, but they're part of the Time Wars. Of course, they feature in it. The Zygons are the monster baddie of the story. They look great.
They do look.
They look so
They're very
good.
gross.
The nightmare moment for kids when the Kate Stewart one turns back into its Zygon form, and the first thing she does is gauze up this orange goo, and her neck starts kind of getting all jowly and melting.
That's nightmare fuel for kids.
Fair enough.
For 31-year-old ladies.
The shot of the motorbike, the motorbike from the Bells of St. John, so Clara's just got that bike now, I guess, which is cute. Entering the TARDIS in a shot that is so well done, you don't stop for a second to think, well, obviously there's a green screen either side of the TARDIS matched up to like footage they shot on location.
Yeah.
It's so well executed, you just go, how the hell did they do that? It looks so slick. It's beautiful. It's like, it's sort of like they took that moment from the Snowmen that was really well done, and they've gone, we can top that. And they've saved it for this. And it is, oh, it's tasty. That shot is tasty.
It is good.
Him dangling from the TARDIS makes no sense, but it's a fun visual. Nick Hurren directed this. I want to bring that up because he's great. He's done a great job with this one. Joanna Page is a lot of fun, especially as the Queen Elizabeth sort of facing off against the duplicate one.
And David keeps thinking that the one he's talking to is
the Zygon,
and it's not.
And then they get married.
They do.
Which, like, okay, that's funny. And then that's one of those things that does make sense when you think more about it. Because, of course, you leave that going, hang on. Queen Elizabeth's already been in the show. She was in Shakespeare Code.
She was mad.
She was furious. She wanted him killed. And she was much older. Oh.
He doesn't go back.
He never went back. Because, obviously, it was all a mission for the Zygons and stuff. To find out the Zygons' plan and everything. So, yeah. Zygons' plan's fun. Like, it doesn't explain how they're in the past, but the idea is that this Zygon lot have arrived on Earth, realised that it is not really worth invading. Like, the planet hasn't progressed far enough for their liking yet.
Rude.
So they've got hold of stolen Time Lord technology, which is basically like, you know, the whole bigger on the inside, like, pocket universe thing,
yeah,
of them being put inside those paintings, and then when it's like, okay, now we can benefit from this, they wake up from that stasis. Like the paintings with the glass on the floor, and it's like, right, for starters they've got glass, that's weird. But the fact that it's all over the floor because it's been broken from the inside, that's eerie. We didn't watch the 3D version of this for this screening, but I've watched it a couple of times on our 3D telly. And the painting effect looks spectacular in 3D. It looks so good.
I mean, it looked cool just on its own, but so I imagine 3D looks really, really cool. I wish paintings were really like that. That'd be really cool.
Let's talk about the highlight moments that like really kicked up the cinema, because that'll, when we watched it originally, because that will lead us into the bits we've not talked about. We probably should. So the interweaving narrative with the Fez and the portals is brilliant. It's like a nice setup that really establishes who's who and where they stand. Archive footage of all the Doctors is lovely, till you spot Sylvester from the TV movie and the TV series and go, well, they don't match, that's weird. No one looked this over, did they?
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It's so weird. The Ninth Doctor gets a hero shot. Reusing a shot from, I think, the start of The Empty Child? I don't know. But that's a bit like, okay, it's got to remember the cinema, everyone went, hey! Because for a split second you forget that it's old footage being reused and you just go, yay!
Oh.
Seeing the 10th Doctor's TARDIS again for the first time was quite cool.
Yeah.
Because it's very clever how they shot around the fact that it's a much smaller set.
Oh, God.
Because
Don't just use me as a ladder.
Because it's the Doctor Experience reconstruction of it.
It gave me warm fuzzies, though.
Yeah, it's lovely to see. Hertz hybrid one is lovely. Because it's also implied that that's not necessarily what his looks like. It's just the TARDIS is trying to compensate from them all being there at the same time. Because they're in the 10th Doctor's TARDIS.
Yeah.
And then it changes to the 11th Doctor's interior so that he can kind of lead where they need to go. Which is a fun idea. The TARDIS is going, you'll get this one, right? This is fine. It's like, okay. But the round things. Oh, I love the round things. What are the round things for? No, what do they do? No. Absolutely no idea. We get Patrick's line again.
Weren't they little cupboards?
They have been. Well remembered. We get Patrick's line again. This time from David. Oh, you've redecorated. I don't like it. But he proper is like, ugh. What is cuppa soup? That got a big laugh, if I remember correctly, when we watched that. I think it was just like, what a weird sentence.
Yeah, what is cuppa soup?
hearing William Hartnell, even though it's not William Hartnell, it's an impersonator, say Gallifrey.
That was
A word
good.
we didn't hear until John Pertwee's era. Like, it's, do you know what I mean? Like, before that, it was just, my people, the Time Lords, and that's it. That's all we knew.
Yeah.
And even then, I think Time Lords is first said in Paddy's time, I think. So, like, it's really cool to, you know. We also get an allusion to the events of the end of time from Gallifrey's perspective. The final sanction. I'm a slasher of prices. We watched Hot Fuzz this week, so that was a nice little coincidence. We get the implication of the events of the end of time for them, Gallifrey nearly leaving its place in space and bringing everything around it with it, nearer to Earth, happened not long ago. Because the War Council are like, you know, like, what about we should let the High Council know about this. It's like the High Council have their own plans. Like, their attempts have failed. Let them decide what they want to do. We've got. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you get the implication that the events of the end of time for for Gallifrey happened not too long ago, and they got back and obviously went, right, what the hell do we do now?
Yeah.
You know, what was that? Oh, the High Council wanted us to go on a suicide mission and kill the universe. No, thank you. The curator. Tell us a bit about the curator.
Matt. Well,
You don't have to explain the scene. They've already seen it, but just like, how does it make you feel, man? You when you first saw it, you'd seen some Tom Baker Doctor Who.
yes.
You knew of him as Doctor Who. Culturally,
Yeah,
that man is Doctor Who. The Simpsons have been telling us so since the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. He was the first Doctor I think I'd ever seen. You know, I've talked about it in previous ones.
One of the most pointless figure releases ever, but I appreciate it all the same.
When my parents would be watching Doctor Who, just like on UK TV Gold, whatever it was called.
So, like,
So
Tom
when I
Baker was the
first
Doctor
saw
in your
it,
brain hole.
yeah. I was like, oh, God, excuse me, I can't stop yawning. I was like, oh yeah, him, that guy, that's awesome, that's really cute. See, and his performance is
It's wonderful.
it's weird and wonderful and adorable.
Especially considering they were like, you're going to be in here, but it's top secret, you can't say anything. We're going to get you to this hotel, it's like out of Cardiff, and then we're going to get you to us in the morning to avoid any spoilers getting out or anything. Like,
Yeah.
and you're going to be given your script that morning, and he clearly improvises a couple times in it, and Matt just goes with it because he's brilliant. You know, congratulations, oh, thank you very much. It's clearly a little improv.
Yeah.
And him being an actor who's like not from a generation of, oh, we've got to keep spoilers under wraps, so you can't say anything about this, or social media embargoes. Like, it must have been very, what the hell is happening? And yet, how magical is that moment?
Yeah. Watching it now, as someone that's watched
All of Tom.
every episode of Tom, it was very exciting because when we rewatched this, I'd forgotten that happens. And then when
Hairs
it
on
happened,
my arms, man.
I was like, oh.
I just lifted my arm up to you as the music was kicking in and Matt was talking to himself to that, and it was just like my hairs on my arm were just like right up in it. I could watch that scene back in isolation on YouTube and it gives me goosebumps.
It's so cute. And it's interesting, the thought that he could, when he regenerates in the future, he can pick. Oh God, sorry.
Well done.
Tradition.
You just killed John Hurt.
Tradition.
It was you who did it.
No, I'm so sorry, John Hurt. What's the thing?
The idea, well, we know that Time Lords can do that, maybe. Romana tried on several bodies, remember?
Yeah, that's true.
And we know that the Doctor has adopted a face of someone he already was before. Like Commander Maxil in the Arc of Infinity. Suddenly his next incarnation looks like Commander Maxil. Never acknowledged, but it does. And then the 12th Doctor's era, which we'll get into very shortly, acknowledges that, you know, who frowned me this face? Because Peter Capaldi had already been in the show.
Yeah. Oh, really? They make a thing of it?
Fires a pump. Oh, yeah. Just you wait. The resolution of it is ridiculous because it comes like a series and a half later and is like fleeting.
Cool.
But the idea that like there's definitely some kind of construction thing, and the excuse given is was it Doctor goes, "I never forget a face, as I know you don't. And in the years to come, you may find yourself revisiting a few, but just the old favourites, eh?" And it's just like, oh, that's lovely. Because again, time can change.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't set in stone. But there's one potential future. And he never outright says it, and the character has always been described as the curator and nothing else. It's the Doctor, right?
Yeah.
It's the Doctor, much later down the line, calling it a day, just like he said, I'd retire and run this place.
Yeah.
He's done it. He's just running the gallery, looking after the painting, Gallifrey Falls, or no more. Or as it turns out, it's actually called...
Gallifrey Falls, no.
No more. It's a lovely scene. Their chemistry's fantastic. It's nice and ominous. That final reveal shot of the opposite wall, and it's covered in roundels, and it's like, wait a minute. Is that just a decorative choice? Is this his TARDIS? What's going on? And the direction it sets the series up in is brilliant. What an absolute vibe, what a mood this story ends on. Hey, guess what, modern viewers of the show, followed it for the last 7-8 years? Gallifrey's out there somewhere. It's been hidden to keep it safe. And now I'm going to go and find it. How exciting is that vibe at the end of this story?
Does he say that you're going to be very busy or something?
You've got a lot to do.
A lot to do, yeah.
Yeah.
Have I?
Have I? No. Yes. Shh. Like, it just... Oh. Is that what I've got to do now? Go looking for Gallifrey? Like, I'm just a humble curator, I'm sure I don't know.
I always imagine it as a little city in a bottle.
Oh. Oh, boo.
Like a
Sweet, innocent, naive summer child.
What?
The reason why the ending of this is so upsetting, in retrospect, is because it gets shat out of the bed and rubbed into the sheets in the very next story.
Very graphic.
The Gallifrey plot gets partially resolved in the very next episode.
No, that's a bit dumb.
And it is so disappointing, especially considering it was released a month and 2 days after this one. Here's the new trajectory for the series. Here's the main characters' new objective. Oh, okay.
And we completed that objective.
But speaking of new objectives, shot that got the biggest cheer, I think, in our cinema, like just audible, way, was the all 12 of them. No, sir. All 13. Woomph. Capaldi's eyebrows. Because, of course, by this point, we knew he'd been cast.
Yeah.
It had been announced about 2 months prior. 2 months prior.
And everyone was like...
And very...
Yeah.
Well, this is the first time ever they've gone, the next guy, you're going to get a glimpse of him in the show before his run even starts. That was a fucking rock and roll move. That was such a good move.
That's a moment that I'll remember for the rest of my life. The atmosphere and just the electricity in that room. It was so nice that everybody... I've spoken about it before, but everybody was feeling the same... Vibes, yeah. And it was so good because, like, nobody was talking. Nobody was on the phone. Everybody was really in the moment and loving it. And that moment was just amazing. It really was. Everybody was so excited. And, I mean, we were in the... It sounds really hoity-toity to say. But we were in the, like, VIP bit at the back, weren't we?
Yeah.
And even people in the VIP section were getting excited. And it was great. It was a really wonderful experience.
I have fond memories.
That's how Comic-Con should be.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say about that.
I have fond memories attached to this, and I still find things to enjoy on rewatches. I've been so excited to get up to this one.
I can tell.
And it's cool that we got here. Plot holes aside, things that don't quite make sense when we think about them aside, this is, I think, the closest you're going to get to like how to do a Doctor Who movie.
Yeah. Don't
force one into existence.
Please don't.
Just do a feature-length, bigger budget special like this and have a ball with it. I really enjoyed Day of the Doctor.
Me too.
A lot. I don't think it gives me this. I think if you're saying like, what's the best anniversary special? I think it's still the Five Doctors for me personally. That one this one is exciting and really enjoyable. Five Doctors fills me with warm fuzzies. Which is why it's lucky that our next video is a 5-ish Doctors reboot. Let us know in the comments what you think of the 50th anniversary special. And we'll see you next time, if we're not too busy filming The Hobbit with Peter Jackson, of course.
Hobbits.
Hobbits.